As part of the first process with PPP loans, we originated 253 million of these loans, a little over 1,100 of them, and to various businesses within our community. And it took a great deal of effort, but it was just very fulfilling for the bank and its staff and its customers. So we were very happy to be able to be in that position to help people.
And I know that's a pretty significant number. You were able to help 1,100 businesses. How were you able to do that? I know these loans are not necessarily easy. There's a lot of paperwork involved. How were you able to do this?
Well, it certainly wasn't easy. Thank you for saying that. This was 7 days a week, 10, 12, 14 hours a day effort by a lot of our staff. We mobilized. We had a very, very strong system in place. We were already a very large SBA lender, Small Business Administration loan lender. And so we leveraged that capability to be able to do all these loans. But I could just remember, Lena, in the thick of it, it was fast and furious.
Okay, and so now I think a lot of people are breathing at least a small sigh of relief knowing that our president has finally signed off on this new stimulus package. We finally have some more help coming into our community. Talk to me about this new stimulus package that
Sure.
does now involve more PPP loans, if I'm correct.
That's right. Well, $900 billion stimulus package, of which what was set aside for PPP loans was 284 million. They're called, I guess, in the act, second draw loans. So that's how we're referring to them at Five Star Bank. You have until March 31st, 2021 to apply for one of these loans. But what's different is the eligibility this time around versus what happened last spring. In particular, you have to be able to prove a 25% decline in quarterly revenue, some quarter in 2020 versus the same quarter in 2019. You have to have 300 or less employees. And the maximum loan you can get is $2 million versus 10 million. There's also some other restrictions. You cannot be a public company. And you've got to be able to prove the need for the PPP proceeds, loan proceeds.
And I've been talking to a few different business owners this morning, just asking sort of what questions do they have now that they are in this position again to apply. One of the first questions that came up from a local blinds installation company here in Sacramento, I had mentioned that they will have to prove that 25% decline in profit. And their question was, how can I prove that? What exact paperwork is needed to show that decline in the amount of money they're making?
It's a simple test of revenue. Most of these small businesses, Lena, are using some type of an accounting package, probably QuickBooks. And it's really taking this quarter in 2020, you pick it, calendar quarter, versus the same calendar quarter of 2019. So it's not as difficult as you would think.
And just jumping off of that, the difficulty of it, I think that's another big question many of our business owners have. Is this process any easier than it was several months ago? Have they simplified the process? Can you speak on how easy or difficult it is?
Well, SBA is right now, they're standing up the whole program, which includes the preparation of an application and probably some procedures, just like they did last time. Haven't seen those yet. We hope to see them within the week, but I would suspect it's going to be very similar. Now, you're going to, in the application, you're probably going to have that show that calculation of revenue decline. I would suspect they would have that, and also, how big's the loan amount going to be? Well, the loan amount could be 2.5 times your monthly payroll. Okay. which is pretty similar to what it was last time. Now, certain industries such as hospitality, food and hospitality could do 3.5 times their monthly payroll. So that's, slightly different calculations, probably in the eligibility is a little bit more stringent. So, but I think that anybody who's gone through the process before, Lena, is certainly going to be well versed to be able to do it again.
And just to clarify what you had just said there, in terms of how big of a loan some of these businesses could be expecting, that loan amount could be 2.5 times their monthly payroll for most businesses. But then you said food and hospitality is 3.5 times. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
3.5 times, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then those loans are capped at $2 million?
$2 million maximum loan amount.
And it was capped at $10 million the first time?
Yes, was capped at 10 million first time.
Okay, perfect. Moving on to my next round of questions from a business owner that says this is going to be her first time applying for these loans. She was not eligible to apply the first time around because she owns a salon that has chair rentals. If you're familiar with how those work, I guess they weren't eligible to apply back in March, but now chair rentals are eligible to apply. Do you know anything about that? Is that correct information?
Well, that's a very specific situation that's unique to salon owners. Oftentimes they rent their chairs out to the professionals that are doing cutting hair or doing whatever. But also maybe they have employees too. So I think every particular PPP application has some due diligence that's involved in it to make sure that the loan is eligible. And I know we took great care in making sure that those loans that we did were eligible. Now, this comes into play in forgiveness. So you want to make sure if you take one of these loans, it gets 100% forgiven. And we're right in the middle of that process. We probably have close to 100 million of the loans that we made already forgiven by the SBA. So we want to make sure that a PPP borrower is highly confident that the entire amount of their loan is going to be forgiven.
So what does a small business have to do to make sure that these loans will be forgiven? Because obviously the last thing that they want to have to do is fork over this extra amount of money that they don't have.
Well, it starts with the loan amount to make sure that they follow program requirements, number one. Number two, you're going to have up to 24 weeks. Let me be clear about that, 24 weeks to expend the PPP proceeds in a manner which is consistent with full forgiveness. Now, what that means is that you have to spend at least 60% of that PPP loan proceeds on payroll costs and 40% on other costs. Now, there's other costs. A definition has been expanded from the first PPP loan process to include certain supply cost, certain masks and other PPE type of equipment and materials that we've all spent money on as businesses. So it's a little more liberal with respect to qualified expenditures associated with forgiveness.
And then let's see here. I think that kind of answered. I think that kind of answered my next question, but I'll ask it again just to be super clear. For those salon chair renter style salons where they do rent out those chairs, are there any key things that you can say for those specific businesses that they have to do in order to comply to get that loan forgiveness?
Well, you're going to have to do it based upon monthly payroll costs. So there's got to be some payroll costs associated with that business. So you just have to calculate it based upon that. If it's just a straight rental business, you have to take some time to make sure that you are eligible for a PPP loan.
And how can a business find out, any business, how can they find out if they are eligible?
Well, first of all, go online, make sure you read as much as you possibly can, Google everything you possibly can, because what's happening right now is the people are sifting through the act and having a pretty good understanding of what it says. Now, this act, Lena, was over 5,000 pages long, so it was not an easy read. As opposed to what the first CARES Act was. I mean, we were able to wrap our heads around that quite quickly. So the SBA has to come out with the rules and the application. So I think everybody's going to have to wait on that. But start to prepare yourself right now. You can do that 25% revenue decline calculation right now. You can do that. That's not hard. You can figure out what 2.5 times your monthly payroll costs are. You can do that calculation. The folks that were eligible for the PPP first round are, there's a really good chance they're going to be eligible the second round, as long as they meet, that decline in revenue criteria. So be prepared, because when it comes out, it's going to be fast and furious. You may recall last time, a lot of people were, I'm going to, pardon my phrase here, but chomping at the bit to get their PPP loan. And so make sure that you're connected with your bank. I can tell you from where Five Star Bank sits, we're preparing for all this right now. We've had several meetings about it. We're going to be all in, just like we were last time, Lena, making sure our processes are efficient and that there's no phone tree. All right, we're not using an app to do this. This is all going to be one-on-one personal connectivity, just like we did it last time, because we felt in the end that really helped people get over their anxiety about the process, but also to get the deal done.
Absolutely. And so these loans, do you have to go through your business's specific bank to get these loans, or how can a business get these loans?
No, either you use your bank, or if you feel like you can get it done someplace else, you could be open to using another financial institution to be able to do this. 40% of the loans we made were at that time not customers of Five Star Bank. So we happen to be in a position to really help a lot of people who were unable to get their PPP loan from their existing bank. And so we were just, like I say, grateful to be able to be in that position to help people.
And I think that you also just answered my next question, but one of the salon owners that I talked to, she was very nervous about this. She said, it feels like it's very high pressure, high stakes. I'm worried about messing my application up. I don't want to make a mistake and have to pay this money back. Is there anything that you can say to a business owner like that to calm her nerves and say,
sure,
this money is here to help you? Like,
listen,
it's gonna be okay.
We're all in this together. We're going to do whatever we can to make sure that you're going to get your PPP loan, your second draw PPP loan, 100% forgiven. We're going to work with you. And that's maybe a little bit different than somebody who's using a portal and you can't talk to anybody and it's a 1-800 number. That's not how we operate. We're hands-on. And I think a lot of financial institutions, specifically the community banks, are hands-on. And that's how you make sure that there's connectivity, there's interaction, there's conversation, and people call you back. And to make sure that you get what you need and you get all your answers to all your questions.
And if somebody does have a question while they're filling out these applications, do you recommend just going through your local bank to get these questions answered, or is there a better way to answer those questions?
Well, I have a bias, as you'd probably think. And it's really about, if you have a personal relationship with a banker that's got your back, and that's really what you need. You need somebody to be able to help you, that's empowered to help you, not just, hey, I'm going to get back to you. Somebody who actually knows the answer and they can make a decision and quickly, and so that you need to move on and get this thing done and get your application in the queue, get your SBA authorization number. And so that you'd be off to the races and get your loan proceeds so you can start paying your employees to make sure that they're in good shape.
And what, do you have a timeline of when these applications will open? Like when is the first day that a business can apply?
Oh, it's a great question. I'm gonna guess it's probably mid-January, but it could be sooner. We're certainly going to be talking to our folks and making sure our customers and our non-customers hey, get prepared now. Let's get you in the queue. Let's set you up. So when the application does come out, it's going to be an easy thing to fill out. You can get it to us quickly so we can get your loan processed.
So even though we don't even know the exact date of when the applications will open, as you were saying, get the process started now, get your paperwork in order, absolutely. Get that 25%, get those numbers pulled.
Absolutely. Be prepared. Don't start the process 2 weeks from now. If you're serious about it, start it today. I mean, nobody's going anywhere over these holidays. What else are you going to do, right?
That's the spirit. Okay. Let's see here. And then can you speak on how, and I think I gathered this much just from reading between the lines on this, but can you speak on how this round of PPP loans is catered more so towards those small businesses? It's not the big publicly traded companies, as you mentioned. It is to support those mom and pop shops, on the corner 2 blocks from my house, things like that. Can you speak on that?
Sure. It's, look to 3 things. 1, no public companies. The limitation in terms of the number of employees, instead of 500, it's 300. The increase in loan amount relative to payroll costs for those folks in the food and hospitality business to 3.5 times versus 2.5 times. So you see there's a couple instances in which, the Congress really drove down these dollars to those folks who are smaller businesses. There's also, set asides for, small banks to make sure small banks don't get squeezed out in terms of dealing with their customers. So when SBA opens the gate up, okay, small banks are going to have a certain degree of preference, just like they did in the second round of the first part, the second iteration of PPP. We're actually on our 3rd iteration.
We're on our 3rd?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
Remember, there was one authorization that got used up, then Congress came back for another authorization. And now this is the 3rd authorization.
Wow. Okay. Well, do you have any other advice for our locally owned businesses here across our area?
Absolutely. Inside this Relief Act, there's some great provisions with respect to SBA loans that are guaranteed by the Small Business Administration. The SBA and Congress is going to make these loans very attractive to small businesses. And let me tell you why. First of all, they're going to increase the guarantee amount from 75% to 90%, which is very advantageous from folks like myself to be more apt to lend, number one. They're eliminating the SBA guarantee fees that a borrower has to pay. That's a big number. That's 2.5% of the loan. They're also going to make, for any loans made from now all the way till September 30th of 2021, SBA is going to pay the first 6 payments of principal and interest. So think about that. Those are pretty significant benefits. So if you have something that you want to invest in a new venture, or to increase your existing business, you want to hire some more people, you want to buy some inventory at a reasonable discount, you want to kind of grow your business, if you will, buy a piece of equipment. SBA is a great alternative for you right now because of the elimination of the fees and the fact that SBA is going to be making 6 months worth of payments. So this is kind of the hidden gem, if you will, in this Relief Act. And we're looking forward to seeing how we could help our customers and our new customers be able to take advantage of these new SBA lending provisions.
Perfect. Would you say, in your perspective, I mean, I read about this on another article, but from your perspective, working at a bank, would you say that this process has been simplified for our small business owners this time compared to previously?
Well, I would say that the great unknown of how to do it is, kind of, we've been there, done that. So we're all a lot more experienced about how to do this. And so that, the risk of getting it wrong because you just don't know is, that's been mitigated, right? So I think that the system works better now than it did. I think SBA knows what they're in for, given what they went through last time. I think the banks are known what they're in for, given what happened last time. And I think the folks who got their PPP loan the first time around know what they're in for. So I think that there's a lot of uncertainty that's been dealt with. So I think just because of that, it's going to be easier.
Okay. Anything else that you think we may have missed that you want to add?
Well, let's talk just a little bit about forgiveness. Okay. The SBA is going to now be accepting a one-page simplified forgiveness application for those loans of $150,000 or less. That's huge because getting these loans forgiven is as hard, maybe harder than they were to be when they're originally made. So that's important. Number two, there's some clarification with respect to the tax ramifications of these PPP loans. So now by this new act, all expenditures made from the proceeds of the PPP loans are deductible for federal income tax purposes. The forgiveness is a non-taxable event for federal income tax purposes. Prior to this, the IRS had kind of ruled that the forgiveness, that the expenditures made from PPP proceeds would be non-deductible. That's off the table now by law. That's a big thing. Number one, and finally, any of these SBA payments made for these 7A loans. I know I'm kind of speaking, at 7A and PPP, but the 7A loans, those payments made by SBA are also not to be characterized as income. So a lot of wonderful things in this act that are really going to help small business.
That is really refreshing to hear. I feel like I've done so many stories. Like the week before Christmas, I did a different small business story every day of the week. And it was just heartbreaking. It takes such a huge toll on all of these business owners. And I just feel for them that, they say they're hanging on by a thread and they say they don't have any other money coming in. So they were just waiting on this to be signed off on.
Well, be patient. Help is on the way. That's what I could say to our customers and small businesses within the capital region. Be patient. Help is on the way.